The first thing I did after being reincarnated as a pig was to devour 125 kilograms of pig feed. While I focused on fattening myself into the largest pig in the pen, the others mocked me for my gluttony, yet they remained blissfully ignorant of my true intent. Growing fat leads only to two possible fates, either being slaughtered for meat or becoming a stud for breeding. To become a stud is a fate far more repulsive than death itself, a reality they fail to comprehend. I have awakened the Devouring Evolution System. As long as I never cease eating, I will continue to grow in power. Though pig feed provides only marginal gains, it is a stable and safe path. No one would ever suspect a common pig of secretly cultivating. The system informs me that the biological limit for a pig is 500 kilograms. Upon reaching 500 kilograms, I will be able to initiate my evolution. With my transformation into a new form meticulously planned, I simply need to eat until I hit that threshold, then undergo a glorious metamorphosis. Little did I expect those two humans to shatter my peace. Father, please don't sell Little Black, he is so well behaved. A young girl with her hair in a tuft clung to the burly man's arm, her eyes red and puffy like a rabbit's, glancing nervously in my direction. Oh, come now, daughter. Was the braised pork not delicious for lunch? It was delicious, but... Very well, I won't sell him. The meat processing plant has already placed an order. If we wait too long, they will come to collect him for sale. Hearing these words, the mouthful of feed I was chewing suddenly lost its flavor. It no longer tasted of anything at all. Fortunately, there are still several months before the new year. As long as I complete my evolution before then, I am certain I can escape from this pig farm. Over the next 2 months, I activated a gluttonous mode, consuming purple sweet potatoes, yams, and pumpkins. Anything edible was forced down my gullet. However, the efficiency was far from ideal. I snuck a glance at my attribute panel. Weight, 200 kilograms. Physique, 5. Strength, human tier. The problem lies with the food. It is entirely low-energy coarse grain, and my growth is slower than a snail's. Even though I have become the apex specimen of this pen, and the other pigs look upon me as if I were a deity, attempting to contend with humanity with this meager strength is nothing more than a daydream. However, I have discovered that, as my strength and body grow, my hearing and vision have become incredibly acute. Now, even the sound of the television inside the house is perfectly audible to me. News from our station. Global temperatures continue to rise. The ice caps in the Antarctic are melting at an accelerated rate. Consequently, sea levels continue to climb. A research team from a certain nation discovered traces beneath the Antarctic ice that suggested the presence of unknown organisms. Station. We will continue to monitor the situation. These fragments of news continue to flood my ears. Despite my current form, I am a pig who once received a university education. I understood all too well what these reports signify. Over the following days, the news became increasingly earth-shattering. First, nations began to expand their militaries with frantic intensity. Soon after, the government issued subtle warnings for citizens to stockpile supplies. An indescribable sense of crisis began to consume me. It could manifest in a few months, or perhaps in the years to come. As I was deep in thought, that brutish man returned, leading several others with him. Seeing that I had grown significantly heavier, he grinned so wide the wrinkles at his eyes could have crushed a fly. Brothers, lend a hand. Get this pig into the truck, and once we're done, I'll treat you all to a grand feast. Understood, they replied, converging upon me. I struggled with all my might, but in the end, I was seized by the tail. Dragged unceremoniously out of the pen, I caught sight of a large truck equipped with an iron cage waiting outside. My heart turned cold. Had it been an ordinary small vehicle, I might have attempted to ram it and make my escape. But this iron cage shattered any hope of liberation I had left. Yet, as I was tossed inside, I realized they had not locked the cage but merely secured it with a simple latch. This was my final straw of hope. To avoid detection, I waited until the truck reached the highway before stealthily extending my tongue to push the latch bit by bit. Just as I was about to disengage it, I suddenly paused, beginning to observe my surroundings with frantic intensity. I needed to find a place with mountains and forests to shake off my human pursuers. The more remote, the better. The more suitable for me to hide and cultivate my strength. After waiting for nearly an hour, I finally spotted the perfect location, a sprawling mountain range, thick with trees, disappearing into the horizon. Once I vanished into this primeval forest, not even hundreds of men would be able to track me down. Without hesitation, I extended my tongue, flung the latch open, and with a powerful kick from my hind legs, leaped from the speeding truck. The moment I hit the ground, the impact bent the guardrail. I tumbled down the steep slope and straight into the river below. Fortunately, my strength and constitution had already been enhanced. Though my hind leg was injured, I dared not stop for even a second, fearing that the humans would be in hot pursuit. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I crawled out of the small river and plunged into the forest ahead, intending to find a place to hide and tend to my injuries. Beneath a massive tree, a blackened object caught my eye, It looked unsightly, yet it possessed vibrant green leaves and sturdy roots. It resembled a Polygonum multiflorum, and since my leg was wounded, consuming it would surely accelerate my recovery. Just as I prepared to take a bite, a giant snail, over half a meter long, lunged out from behind the tree. Its black and red body writhed as it surged toward me. I was fast approaching 500 caddies. If I were to be bitten by this creature, I would surely not be able to endure it. I approached it first, and when the distance was just right, I leaped into the air, utilizing the full force of my several hundred caddy weight, and crushed it directly into a pile of mangled flesh. Looking at the pulp on the ground, I hesitated for a moment, but a centipede this large was undoubtedly a potent tonic. Swallowing it would surely cause my strength to skyrocket. With that thought, I opened my maw and inhaled, devouring the large centipede spirit beast. As a 480 caddy pig, my physique reached 6, and my strength 16. Upon consuming an animal for the first time, I awakened a skill, Devour, which allows for long-range consumption and greatly increases nutritional efficiency. This skill was truly tailor-made for me. I hurriedly asked the system what other abilities I could awaken. Each time the host evolves, a unique technique is awakened. After 5 evolutions, a divine ability will be unlocked. My heart blossomed with joy as I decided to test my new skill. I set my sights on the Polygonum multiflorum, opened my maw, and inhaled. The plant flew toward me, shrinking in midair until I swallowed it in one go. At that moment, my hind leg began to tingle. The wound healed in the blink of an eye, and my strength and physique each increased by 2 points. My weight surpassed 500 caddies. Truly, a smooth start leads to a smooth path. This forest is my blessed land. I immediately realized that such a vast primeval forest must surely harbor many fierce beasts. With my current strength, I could bully smaller animals. But if I were to encounter a bear or a tiger, my current physique wouldn't be enough to serve as a snack for them. However, once I complete my first evolution, perhaps nothing in this forest will be able to stand in my way. Therefore, for now, I must remain hidden and focus on my development. I moved carefully through the forest, and before long, I discovered a secluded stone cave. My sense of smell has become quite sharp, and I detected no scent of other wild beasts at the entrance. Perhaps due to its proximity to the highway, there were very few animals nearby. Upon crawling into the cave, I promptly fell into a deep slumber. At the same time, over the distant, fog-shrouded ocean, a battle fleet consisting of more than 10 warships was retreating in a desperate frenzy. Their cannon barrels roared, unleashing barrages that seemed to shake the very heavens and earth. Within the thick mist ahead, something truly terrifying appeared to be lurking. Retreating at maximum velocity, the command deck's monitors displayed the silhouette of a creature radiating a menacing crimson glow. Caught simultaneously by both infrared sensors and radar, the middle-aged officer's face turned deathly pale. Beside him, a young officer stammered, his voice trembling. "Sir, what exactly? What could that possibly be?" "The thermal energy it emits exceeds the combined power of our entire fleet. Whatever it may be, we can only pray that our losses are minimal compared to the devastation it brings. Issue the command to designate this sea area as a top-secret, special-level restricted zone." A few days later, deep within the primeval Great Ridge Forest, I continued my cycle of eating and sleeping. Life was remarkably comfortable, and I remained entirely unaware that the crisis I had sensed had already begun in silence. Checking my attribute panel, my weight had reached 600 jin, yet the ordinary food around me provided diminishing returns. With no other choice, I had no option but to venture deeper into the forest. I hadn't traveled far when I stopped by a small river, testing my ability by inhaling toward the fish swimming below. It flew straight out of the water and into my maw. Strength +1. Consuming fish could increase my physical power. I sprawled by the riverbank, opening my mouth to inhale whenever a fish swam near. With a swift motion, my physique increased by 1. As I consumed an ever-increasing amount of fish, my once soft and supple body began to undergo a transformation, turning a deep, brownish black, while a pair of sharp tusks sprouted from the corners of my mouth. Wild Boar. Weight 650 jin, physique 30, strength 50. After evolving into a wild boar, my frame neared 3 meters in length, making the small fish provide negligible gains. I continued to push deeper inside, but I had not gone far before I heard the howling of wolves. Instinctively, I wanted to take a detour, but feeling the surging power within my body, I decided to stealthily approach and investigate. As I drew near, I witnessed a pack of wolves surrounding 2 black bears. Logically, a pack of wolves should not be able to defeat black bears, but by the side of the large black bear was a cub. In order to protect its offspring, the large black bear dared not commit to a full-force assault. Watching the 2 sides struggle, I initially intended to wait until they had both exhausted themselves, to reap the benefits as the fisherman. Yet upon seeing the cub trembling in terror, I found my heart stirred by sudden compassion. My massive form surged forward at high velocity, generating a terrifying shockwave of force. With a wild boar's charge, I sent 3 wolves flying. The giant black bear seized the opportunity to strike down another. The alpha wolf locked eyes with me and let out a long, haunting howl, and I braced myself for them to turn their aggression toward me. Yet, as the echo faded, the entire pack turned and fled, vanishing into the darkness in the blink of an eye. The giant black bear cast one profound look at me before leading its cub into the forest, leaving the carcasses of the wolves scattered upon the ground. I opened my maw and began to feast. Devouring the 700 catty wild boar granted me 70 points of physique and 80 points of strength. As expected, these large beasts yield far greater essence. I am nearing the 1,000 catty threshold. Evolution is within my reach. Sated and rested, I continued my leisurely trek deeper into the wilderness. A mysterious object caught my eye, forcing me to halt. A pitch-black, meter-long device buried beneath the fallen leaves. A steel animal trapped deep within these perilous mountains. The one who set this was no honest hunter, but a poacher. Just as the thought crossed my mind, a roar that shook the very heavens and earth erupted from the path ahead. A Siberian tiger, the sovereign of the forest. It seemed these poachers had dared to lay hands on this magnificent beast. I hesitated for a long moment, yet I ultimately decided to creep forward to investigate. Should the situation prove dire, I resolved to retreat at once. I treaded with extreme caution. Despite my 700 catty frame, I moved without a whisper of sound, traversing the dense woods. By the time I drew near, the battle had concluded, though I could sense the presence of the intruders just ahead. I scanned my surroundings, took cover in the thicket, and crept closer. Before me lay a clearing occupied by a flickering campfire. 5 men sat huddled around the flames, seeking warmth. My heightened senses allowed me to catch every word of their conversation. It turned out to be a band of poachers from Japan. That Siberian tiger had been brought down by their treacherous traps. I caught sight of a tiger's tail protruding from a black bag nearby. My heart quickened. I had to seize this chance to consume the tiger, as it would surely provide enough essence to surpass 1,000 catties and trigger my evolution. Before long, midnight arrived. They left a single man to stand guard, while the others retreated into their tents. I moved silently toward the camp, and as the distance closed to within 100 meters, I abandoned all stealth. With a frenzied burst of speed, I charged. The sentry had only just raised his rifle when I crashed before him, a single strike of my tusks sending him flying dozens of meters through the air. The others, alerted by the commotion, stumbled from their tents only to be trampled under my charge. I followed up with several thrusts of my venomous fangs, ensuring they were completely stripped of the ability to fight. Confident that the threat had been neutralized, I lunged toward the black bags. The first bag contained a lifeless Siberian tiger. The second bag contained a massive brown bear. Unzipping the third bag, I found 2 tiger cubs inside. They were still unconscious, clearly sedated. I continued my search. What I currently need most is a mobile phone or some other device capable of communicating with the outside world, so that I may monitor the situation beyond this place at any moment. On the ground, aside from the 3 large black bags, only the backpacks belonging to the poachers remained. As I emptied them, I realized there was quite a collection of treasures, including a notebook. It detailed the various deeds they had committed over the past few years, consisting mostly of information regarding different forests, including the Darling Primitive Forest, where I am currently located. After rummaging a while longer, I discovered a smartphone in another backpack. There was also a fully charged power bank and a small hand-cranked generator. Truly, fortune favors me exactly when I need it most. My heart swelled with manic joy. Just then, the 2 tiger cubs stirred and woke up. They caught sight of me, yet they did not flee. Instead, they immediately positioned themselves to shield the body of the Siberian tiger. They bared their fangs at me, and I watched them in return. Their tiny frames would hardly provide enough energy to satisfy me. I decided to consume the brown bear first, to see if it would trigger an immediate evolution. I opened my maw, targeted the large brown bear, and swallowed it whole. Species: Wild Boar. Weight: 475 kg. Constitution: 100. Strength: 120. I am only 25 kilograms away from evolution. My gaze fell upon the 2 tiger cubs, and the 2 little creatures trembled, shivering even more violently than before. Ultimately, I did not strike at them, turning my attention toward the Siberian tiger behind them instead. This caused them to shake uncontrollably, yet they still stood their ground to protect it, growling and threatening. The other one suddenly tucked its tail and fled. I did not pursue it, continuing my approach instead. Before the Siberian tiger could even move, the cub that had fled moments ago rushed back. Clamped in its jaws was a dark brown bag. It ran before me, dropped the bag heavily onto the ground, and retreated to shield the Siberian tiger once more. From the bag rolled a pile of medicinal herbs. Lingji and wild ginseng lay scattered across the earth. I opened my mouth and activated the devouring technique. The herbs on the ground instantly transformed into a stream of energy, which I swallowed into my belly. My weight surpassed the 1,000 jin milestone, and my body began to undergo a massive transformation. The dark brown fur rapidly vanished, replaced by a striking, vibrant reddish-brown hue. The joints and vulnerable points of its body were now armored with a layer of hardened black scales. Mystical and intricate patterns emerged across all 4 limbs. I have evolved into an entirely new species, the Black Armored Boar. I awakened the Black Armor skill, which can encapsulate my entire body, granting immunity to standard physical damage. After processing this information, I turned my gaze toward the 2 tiger cubs. From the recent encounter, I realized that these 2 little ones possess not only great spiritual intelligence, but also a terrifying sense of loyalty toward their kin. I decided to tame them. Instead of consuming the Siberian tiger, I dug a pit and buried it. This act caused the hostility of the 2 cubs toward me to diminish by more than half in an instant. I let out a low growl at them and tossed a backpack in front of them. I gestured for them to take turns carrying it if they grew tired. To my surprise, the 2 tiger cubs actually understood. They put on the backpack and obediently followed behind me. Leaving the campsite, I ventured deeper into the forest while checking the requirements for my next evolution. Unexpectedly, the next stage of evolution requires a weight of nearly 20,000 jin. This figure is truly preposterous. Suddenly, I remembered that notebook. Within it were records of this forest and the territories of numerous large beasts. Relying on this living map, I continued my journey, eating as I went. I devoured various large creatures, and my physical stature soared at an astonishing pace. Naturally, beyond hunting, my most important daily task is monitoring the news. Now happens to be the time for the news broadcast. The news from our station: Mount Wutai, Mount Longhu, Mount Jiuhua, Mount Yandang, and other ancient, renowned mountains. Starting today, they will be recruiting a large number of disciples. Those with exceptional talent may be granted more lenient requirements. I did not expect the news to be broadcast so openly. These places are actually conducting mass recruitment. I hurriedly searched for relevant information. On a related website, I discovered a piece of news even more shocking. The Huaxia Martial Arts Association has officially announced the cultivation realms for martial artists. Cultivation is the act of refining the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, integrating it with one's own internal cultivation base. It is divided into several major cultivation realms, and I urge all martial artists to cultivate diligently. To reach the pinnacle as soon as possible, my mind buzzed with these revelations. Since when has Huaxia possessed such an organization? Now, even the cultivation realms have been publicly disclosed. I could not help but look up at the heavens. The great cataclysm I had foreseen earlier truly seems to be approaching. However, I am still far from my second evolution. I must accelerate my progress. With a call, I signaled my 2 younger siblings to continue our journey southward. We swept through the forest at a leisurely pace. Along the way, I adhered strictly to my principle of devouring everything in my path. In just a few short days, my weight soared to 3,000 caddies, and both my strength and physical form multiplied exponentially. After swallowing a few unfortunate elk, I paused beside a crystal-clear lake. Without needing my command, the 2 tiger cubs excitedly leaped into the water to frolic. I paid them no mind, collapsing onto the soft grass to fall into a deep slumber. Yet, this rest nearly became one from which I would never awaken. Suddenly, a frantic roar from a tiger jolted me awake. It turned out that a giant python, concealed beneath the water, was closing in on me. This serpent measured over 12 meters in length. Half of its body remained submerged beneath the surface. Its icy gaze was locked onto me. Startled and enraged, I sprang up and launched an immediate assault. However, this fierce strike was easily parried by the python. The resistance of the water significantly hampered my speed, whereas the serpent was completely unhindered in its element. After my charge was repelled, and before I could recover for a second strike, its massive tail whipped me into the water. Seeing me struck down, the tiger cubs let out cries of fury. This act completely incensed the python. It quickly swam toward the bank. Just as its head reached the shore, it was seized by a powerful force, its tail bitten and tossed onto the grass. It turned out that when I was knocked into the water, I had activated my black armor skill. The black armor shielded me from the impact, and my crimson fur ignited with literal flames. In that instant, my physical prowess more than doubled. Immediately afterward, I launched another assault. The python, having been thrown aside, struggled to coil tightly around me, yet it could do nothing to harm me. Relying on the black armor, I tore into it with frenzied bites. Half an hour later, the serpent finally ceased all movement, and only then could I set my heart at ease. I bit off a section of the tail and tossed it to the 2 tiger cubs. Just as I was leisurely savoring the serpent, a white wolf measuring 4 meters in length appeared in the distance. It was staring fixedly at the 2 tiger cubs beside me. Sensing an unfamiliar aura, I immediately turned around, catching sight of those cold, predatory eyes. It was a lone wild wolf. It was still 200 meters away, a distance that, under normal circumstances, it could not close. But who told it to be so tired of living, daring to covet my little companions? I had no choice but to send it to the afterlife. As soon as those words left my mind, My entire body was enveloped in a layer of pitch-black scales. The surrounding temperature rose rapidly. The wild wolf had barely sensed the shift when it witnessed a massive shadow. It lunged forward at a speed beyond the wolf's comprehension. With a thunderous boom, the 4-meter-long wolf was instantly sent flying 100 meters, slamming violently into a tree before coming to a stop. I signaled to the 2 tiger cubs, motioning for them to drag the carcasses of the wolf back here. The 2 tiger cubs understood immediately and trotted off to haul the wolf's body. After devouring 2 beasts of such immense size, I could feel a searing heat spreading throughout my body. Waves of power continuously surged, refining my physique, and my body began to grow larger. System: display my attributes. Species: Black Armored Boar. Weight: 600 Jin. Strength: 600 points. Agility: 550 points. Alas, I am still quite far from my goal. The 10,000 Jin mark will have to wait. I shall rest for now and contemplate the future later. And just as I was deep in slumber, along the endless coastline, a fierce battle was unfolding. It was a place the people called a forbidden military zone, backed by towering walls of pitch-black stone. A middle-aged man in a military overcoat gazed toward the endless coastline ahead, his expression grim, as a soldier hurried in from the outside. Report! Sector 3 has detected a massive swarm of marine creatures. Among them are 20 of the sharp tentacled species. The coastal artillery has been destroyed. What are the casualty figures? Report. The soldiers have suffered 50 casualties. Among them, Master Chen has sustained grave injuries. Liu Shang is lightly wounded, while Qifeng's sword managed to sever the tentacle of a lizard single-handedly. Very well, I understand. Maintain strict defensive protocols. The middle-aged man exhaled a soft sigh. His name is Tian Meng, the commander of this base since the fog first emerged upon the sea years ago. The situation here has grown increasingly dire. He knows that before long, it will be impossible to conceal the truth any further. Only by cultivating a significant number of experts can they hope to withstand these monsters. And while the bases in Huaxia are locked in fierce combat, I remain fast asleep deep within the vast forest. The 2 tiger cubs are the same, though it is quite evident that our bodies have grown much larger than before. At present, my body length has reached 7 meters. My height stands at 3 meters. I am truly a tank upon the land. I estimate that even if I were to encounter a dinosaur from the primordial era, I could fell it in a single strike. That I could grow so rapidly is entirely the result of my hunting efforts. In this forest, throughout the recent period, while staying in the southern region, I have captured countless large-scale animals and have crossed paths with several true kings of this domain. The most formidable creature I encountered in the south was a red-furred ape over 3 meters long. That creature possessed truly remarkable speed. The 2 tiger cubs were nearly abducted by that very ape. Besides that detestable ape, I also encountered a giant brown bear over 7 meters long, a blue wolf measuring 5 meters, and a massive python nearly 20 meters in length. The combat prowess of these beasts is incredibly terrifying. I suspect that if I were not protected by my black armor, securing victory against them would not be an easy feat. As for the records within the notebook, the black tiger, known as the Holy Beast, has yet to be discovered. I have a premonition that this black tiger is my true rival. Enough, I shall dwell on it no further. Today, we shall have an additional meal. We will deal with that brown bear first. First of all, I called the 2 tiger cubs over and began to head toward a mountain in the southern region. The den of that brown bear was located within a mountain cavern. Before long, a cavern, cavernous and pitch black, appeared before my eyes. The 2 tiger cubs hiding behind me had already begun to growl. Immediately afterward, the sound of boulders rolling echoed from within the cave. A massive brown bear emerged from the depths, standing upright. The ferocious aura radiating from its body forced me to wonder exactly what this creature had been feeding on to grow to such a size. Although the brown bear and I were of similar stature, it appeared far more formidable when standing on its hind legs. The brown bear charged straight toward me, unleashing a furious roar. It was clear that it recognized me. In truth, we had clashed once before some time ago, though I had not resorted to using my techniques during that encounter. This time, it was truly a case of enemies meeting with extreme prejudice. Words were unnecessary. Our 2 massive forms collided, the force of the impact reverberating throughout the entire forest. My silver fangs slashed open the brown bear's hide once again, but the beast managed to withstand my assault. With a sudden thud, another violent collision occurred. This time, the brown bear was sent crashing to the ground, yet it sprang back up immediately. While my defensive capabilities far surpassed its own, its massive claws still managed to lacerate my skin. This battle cannot be allowed to drag on for too long. If we continue to exchange blows like this, I fear it might take all day. I wonder, are there any other gargantuan beasts lurking in this forest? My heart stirred, and a layer of black armor began to slowly shroud my body. In an instant, a wave of heat emanated into the air. The moment the black armor fully enveloped me, I could feel the strength within my body surging manifold. My defensive power had reached a truly terrifying level. As the brown bear looked upon me, a flicker of panic appeared in its eyes. Just as it attempted to retreat, my form transformed into a black torrent. Following an earth-shattering explosion, with a thunderous crash, the lifeless brown bear slid down from the cliffside, kicking up a cloud of dust upon the earth. The two tiger cubs jumped with excitement, their eyes fixed intently upon the brown bear's limb. I signaled for them to wait until I had checked the cave for any other lurking beasts. Afterward, I led the two tiger cubs into the cavern. The cave was far more expansive than I had imagined. Even I could move about freely within its depths. Following the path deeper into the cavern, I discovered a vast array of flora and vegetation. Among them were several types of unknown fruits, emitting a faint, lingering fragrance. I knew immediately that these were treasures of great value. That 7-meter-tall brown bear reigned as an overlord in this forest. It certainly knew how to choose a prime location. Upon reaching the deepest part of the cave, I discovered a large pool on the ground, filled with a shimmering, golden-colored liquid, flowing within an entire lake of honey. Could this brown bear have possibly raided the hive of a queen bee? I couldn't help but wonder. After searching the cave thoroughly, I left the two gluttonous tiger cubs behind, allowing them to drink their fill of honey, while I headed outside the cave, turning back to gaze upon the colossal carcass of the brown bear. I first severed a bear paw to leave for my two subordinates, then began to devour the brown bear whole. A massive surge of heat continuously scoured my body. I felt as though I had become a walking furnace. Faced with this intensity, I decided to retreat into the cave to rest. After consuming a few mouthfuls of honey, I drifted into a deep slumber. Unbeknownst to me, my own physique was gradually expanding. After spending several days in the cave, my body had grown to 9 meters in length and 4 meters in height. A truly peerless, gargantuan existence within the entire southern region. This will not do. Today, I must find someone weaker to demonstrate my newfound power. I will hunt them down one by one. First, I shall deal with that serpent in the water, then sweep through all the beasts in the region. I refuse to believe I cannot track down that black tiger. I began to formulate a plan in my mind, and the reason I am only now seeking to provoke that serpent is primarily because that snake was even larger and possessed the advantage of the water. Previously, I did not have enough certainty to contend with it. Now that my physical form has grown, I am confident that I can easily handle that snake. But before I depart, I shall browse my phone for a moment. With that thought in mind, I sat down and began scanning the news as I usually do. However, the report broadcast today left me utterly astonished. According to our station, along the coastline of the Cherry Blossom Nation, countless monsters have flooded into the cities, causing horrific slaughters. At present, a massive influx of refugees from the Sakura Isles is fleeing toward neighboring nations. According to the latest reports, the Sakura Isles have requested aid from the Eagle Nation, though they have yet to receive any response. Beneath the news bulletin, the comments section from the vast multitude of netizens has erupted. What is the meaning of this situation? I have just awakened, and the little Japanese islands are already on the brink of collapse? What in the world has transpired? How exactly was the coastline of the island nation breached? In the face of the heated discourse among the many netizens, one user decisively posted an image. It depicted a gargantuan lizard, 9 meters in length, crushing a tank within its jaws. Upon witnessing this image, countless netizens fell silent for a fleeting moment, only for even more intense discussions to erupt immediately after. The authorities of Huaxia knew well that this could not be concealed for much longer, so they are now gradually revealing the truth. Several individuals with a keen sense for intelligence have appeared online, and every revelation they provide leaves the populace in a state of utter astonishment. Seeing everyone in such a fervor, I could not help but join the fray, leisurely typing a single line. This beast would not even withstand a single strike from me. Barely a second passed before a countless number of netizens flooded in to refute me. Do not exaggerate so foolishly, master. I am a disciple of the Fang Kun sect. Even a palm strike from our sect master could not slay this beast. In fact, he would likely suffer mutual destruction in such an encounter. Someone of your caliber? Brothers, do not waste your breath on him. This fellow has surely lost his mind. To the user above, you are exposing the secrets of your own master so openly. Are you not afraid of receiving a beating from him? Rest assured, my master does not use social media. Furthermore, he has no idea where I am located. Observing these comments, I could not help but smile with nonchalant grace. The depth of my cultivation far exceeds your wildest imaginations. Very well. As I scrolled through a few more updates, I began to feel the pressing urgency of time. The strength of those lizards is already on par with giant bears. I must hasten my own evolution. 3 more days have passed. I have not been idle for even a moment, diligently sweeping away monsters using my devouring system. Let me open my status window and examine it. I have nearly eradicated all the beasts in this area, yet there remains a significant gap before I can reach the 2,000-point threshold for strength and physique. Furthermore, there is that matter of the primordial world's spiritual energy recovery, which has recently caused quite a stir online. Muttering to myself, I turn to look at the two companions beside me. Do you two have any idea what this is about? I have heard that many beasts are beginning to evolve. Hearing this, I sighed softly. I myself am unsure of what is transpiring, so it is certain you know even less. Standing now at a massive height of 11 meters, I am comparable to a rare apex overlord of the forest, and even that hateful hulking red-haired ape no longer dares to provoke me easily. This place is not far from the coastline. Let us go and see if we can encounter the great tentacle lizard. With that said, I led the two tigers toward the shore. The southern mountain pass connects to the sea, where a military base is stationed, yet it is rare for beasts from the sea to emerge there. Consequently, this military base is counted among the 24, and as it is built upon a small island, it has suffered the fewest casualties. A middle-aged man in a general's uniform stared at the radar screen before him, a flicker of gravity in his eyes. The beast displayed on the radar has begun to move. That beast is the same one we previously detected on land. It possesses the highest heat signature, surpassing even the tentacle lizards within the ocean. Sir, shall we adjust our firepower to target this beast? Not for the time being. The ground forces are currently dealing with that colossal beast. Moreover, we must focus on handling the swarm of tentacle lizards in our own sector. According to past experience, it is likely that a large number of tentacle lizards will emerge here soon. The general nodded with a solemn expression, ordering the ammunition to be checked, ready for combat at any moment. And just as the military base remained on high alert, I was leisurely walking through the forest, having finally reached the coastline, where I then caught the scent in the air. There is no mistake. This place truly carries the scent of the tentacle lizards. I had not expected the giant tentacle lizard to be so close to me. There are only 10 days remaining until the primordial restoration of the world, as predicted online. For me, this coastline can now be considered a treasury of riches. 2 days later, I watched with growing excitement as the 9-meter-long lizard appeared in the distance. Compared to my own robust frame, these two lizards looked like nothing more than scrawny dogs. The two colossal lizards, upon seeing me, did not charge recklessly, but instead began to slowly retreat. Clearly, they could sense that I was not a creature to be trifled with. Did you really think you could escape from me? I cast a scornful glance at the two scrawny beasts, and with a body as massive as a bulldozer, I charged forward. Seeing that they could not outrun me, the two lizards bared their fangs and claws, attempting a desperate counterattack. However, the very moment they collided with me, they were sent flying backward from the sheer impact. Their tough, armored skin was easily rent open by my silver tusks, leaving behind a deep, jagged gash. I gave the two lizards no opportunity to catch their breath. With another brutal charge, I sent them both to the afterlife. This entire spectacle was clearly recorded by the nearby military base. The eyes of the middle-aged general within the base revealed deep shock, mingled with a flicker of dread. The tentacle lizards had proven nearly impossible for their forces to handle, yet they had been dispatched with such effortless ease. If this footage were to be released online in Huaxia, it would undoubtedly cause a massive sensation. How large were these two lizards? What level of cultivation did they correspond to? According to the radar data, both lizards reached a peak length of 9.5 meters, equivalent to the peak of the Steelbone realm. Yet to slay such creatures, one would typically need the strength of a 6th-grade Communion realm expert. In truth, there were many powerful cultivators stationed within the military base. If the progression from the 8th-grade Ironskin realm to the 7th-grade Steel Bone realm is considered a threshold, then the leap from the 7th-grade Steel Bone realm to the 6th-grade Communion realm is a chasm as wide as heaven and earth. The 9th to 7th grade realms are collectively known as the lower 3 realms. The 6th-grade Communion realm belongs to the middle 3 realms. The sect leaders of the great famous mountains currently reside at this level. In truth, it was inevitable that the Sakura nation would be defeated by these lizard beasts. Ordinary lizard beasts are already on par with human cultivators. Within the lower 3 realms, there are many massive lizards, with bodies exceeding 10 meters in length. Equivalent to the middle realms in power, at this tier the Sakura nation's defensive cannons and artillery can no longer pose a threat to them. The middle-aged general asked again, "Have you determined the cultivation realm of that boar beast?" That beast. Furthermore, the thermal readings indicate that a terrifying reservoir of energy lies hidden within the beast's body, rendering its true strength unfathomable. Could it be that this creature possesses power equal to that of the void lizard? I dragged the two massive lizards back to the cavern and began to devour them. The energy they provided was truly substantial. I could feel each surge of heat coursing through my body. My strength and physical form were expanding, and I was growing more formidable by the moment. Unconsciously, I glanced at the two underlings beside me and could not help but roar. Your performance just now was pathetic. As descendants of the Forest Lord, you were actually frightened out of your wits by a mere lizard. Though that lizard appeared quite massive, the two of you could have easily overwhelmed it by attacking together. The two tigers whimpered in response, daring not to protest. I then declared, From now on, you shall be known as Tiger 1 and Tiger 2. The two tigers nodded, seemingly understanding my decree, and regarding these two subordinates of mine, I resolved to cultivate them thoroughly. After all, they are born kings of the beasts. With the proper training, they shall become my most reliable arms. Although those 9-meter-long lizards appear intimidating, I estimate that once these tiger cubs reach 5 meters in size, they will easily be able to handle such creatures. The moment of the world's creation draws near, and during this time I must venture to the coastline more frequently. If I can encounter a few more lizards, I shall be able to evolve much faster. It is almost time. System, display my current attributes. Weight, 2000 Jin. Strength, 100 points. Devour technique, nearly there. Just a few more lizards, and perhaps I will manage one final evolution before the heaven and earth awaken. With my goal established, each day I led my 2 underlings to the coastline to hunt for the tentacle lizards. Meanwhile, the naval base located on the offshore island has clearly sensed the extent of my strength over these past few days. How many have we lost today? Report, General. Among them, there was one exceeding 10 meters in length. Who could have imagined such a terrifying, gigantic monster lurked within the forest? The military district has placed immense importance on this boar king, classifying it as one of their highest level secrets. If only we could gain the favor of this boar king and secure it for our own use, that would be ideal. Sir, we should attempt to make contact with this boar king more frequently. I noticed that this wild boar king is unlike any other monster I have encountered. It adopts only 2 tiger cubs and specializes in hunting the tentacle lizards. It is not yet time to confront the wild boar king directly. However, there is no reason I cannot attempt to approach the 2 tiger cubs first. This wild boar king certainly harbors a secret, and from my vantage point by the shore, I have long kept an eye on the base in the distance. Yet, I did not bother to drag my spoils of war along. Instead, I returned to the cave. Hu Yi, Hu Er, come here. Let us review your progress. You both performed quite well today. At the very least, you did not flee. Although you have yet to breach their defenses, there is still significant room for improvement. It is time to eat. Having said this, I devoured the giant lizards in a single gulp. In the blink of an eye, a few more days passed. For the past several days, I have ventured to the coast daily in search of lizards. But the tentacle lizards are becoming increasingly scarce. Nevertheless, I have reached the threshold of evolution. On that day, while I was browsing the news, I suddenly stumbled upon a shocking revelation. The report stated that base number 23 had been breached by the tentacle lizards. Within the chaos, Master Liu Zhenren of the Jiwa Mountain sect perished in battle, along with countless heroic volunteers who sacrificed their lives. Outside, the people are either valiantly resisting the monsters or cultivating with fervent intensity. Compared to them, my own days remain rather leisurely. Guarding this coastal forest, I do not even need to hunt for my own prey. Thus, a few more days drifted by, and I took my 2 subordinates for our usual patrol along the coastline. Suddenly, I sensed a massive surge of power erupting from the earth. The energies in the air began to intertwine. The heavens and earth were in their nascent state, and spiritual energy was being restored. This term immediately crossed my mind. Shortly thereafter, the entire ground appeared to be blanketed by a dim gray mist. The devouring technique within my body began to circulate autonomously, and an immense amount of ambient spiritual energy was instantly drawn into my core. Having already stood at the threshold of evolution, I achieved a direct breakthrough the moment the heavens and earth transformed. The 2 tiger cubs beside me seemed to perceive it as well. They remained silent by my side as their bodies began to undergo subtle changes. Across all of Huaxia, and indeed the entire world, violent upheavals were taking place. Deep within the boundless ocean lay a colossal island, where spiritual energy converged into a violent vortex. Several massive beasts stood upon it, emitting roars that shook the heavens and shattered the earth. Their silhouettes towered beneath the great storm, their forms gradually evolving. Among them, the giant lizard standing in the northeast corner showed the most distinct transformation. A shimmer of starlight rose from its body, and its eyes burned with a crimson light, exuding an aura of absolute savagery and tyranny. He is none other than the lizard god who has ravaged many nations. This storm of spiritual energy persisted for 3 days and 3 nights. Every power grid and communication network across the globe was paralyzed under the weight of this tempest. Some smaller nations have even lost their ability to communicate permanently. 3 days later, deep within a cave in the vast primeval forest, 2 tigers, each over 5 meters in length, stood before a colossal creature stretching over 15 meters long. I am stirring from my slumber, slowly drifting into wakefulness. I shake the dust from my body. My height now exceeds 6 meters. Across my entire frame, the black armor that once protected my vital points has transformed into a brilliant golden hue. Under the rays of the sun, my body radiates a golden light, while my golden armor and crimson fur seem to blend into a perfect harmony. If I once resembled a ferocious beast, I now possess the stature of a sacred creature. Is this the moment of the world's genesis? The resurgence of spiritual energy? System. Display my attributes. Body weight, 25,000 Jin. Strength, 2, 500 points. Skills. Devouring Art. Golden Armor. Glazed Fire. As expected, my black armor has directly evolved into golden armor. I have even gained a new skill. Glazed Fire. It is time to venture outside. It is the perfect opportunity to test my new abilities. As always, I lead the two tigers with me toward the coastline. However, upon nearing the shore, I hear the thunderous roar of artillery echoing in the distance. The military base on the small island is firing frantically, but in the face of such overwhelming firepower, the casualties among the creatures ahead are remarkably few. This is because they are a pack of giant lizards, numbering more than 10. The leader of the pack has reached an astonishing length of 20 meters. Cold, light armor envelops its body, and even when several volleys of artillery strike it, they only manage to inflict minor, negligible wounds. Inside the base, Liu Dan's expression is grave, and his body radiates the aura of the 9th rank of the Origin Realm. Because the heavens and earth have just opened, and under his command there were 5 warriors of the 8th rank Ironskin Realm, and 2 of the 7th rank Steelbone Realm. Yet, facing these 7 giant lizards, they now found themselves in a situation hanging by a single thread. An adjutant hurried to Liu Dan's side to report, "Captain Liu, the swarm of tentacle lizards is less than 100 meters from the base. Our outer perimeter firepower has been severely restricted, and it is completely unable to hold them back." Everyone drew their machetes, preparing for close quarters combat. But given the current situation, a tentacle lizard over 20 meters long was a foe that even a human of the 6th rank sensory realm could not contend with. At this moment, the base held only one master of the sensory realm, an ascetic monk who had traveled from the Tibetan region. Since the dawn of these events, the monk had been in deep seclusion, and he had yet to emerge. But Liu Dan knew that even if the monk were to emerge, he would stand no chance of victory against a 20-meter tentacle lizard. Now, he could only exhaust his remaining strength, hoping to inflict enough pain upon these tentacle lizards and see if they might temporarily retreat. When I appeared on the coastline, no one in the military base noticed my arrival. Everyone had already rushed out to the front lines. Brothers, taking down even one of them would break us even. Every lizard we fell reduces our casualties. Several soldiers rushed headlong toward the giant lizards, clutching explosives to their chests, but the violent explosions only caused the beasts minor injuries. At this point, even the smallest of these lizards exceeded 10 meters in length, and even a master of the 6th rank sensory realm could not easily defeat one of them. Just as the base teetered on the brink of collapse, a circular iron disc suddenly soared in from the distance. The disc struck a 15-meter lizard, slicing directly into its neck and carving out a massive, gaping wound. A group of soldiers cheered in excitement. "Master Gu has appeared." Immediately afterward, a monk, clad in coarse gray robes, descended from the sky, his entire body radiating an indescribable aura, forcing the surrounding tentacle lizards to retreat repeatedly. The base commander, Liu Daka, excitedly approached the monk and asked, "Master Gu, have you achieved a breakthrough?" The monk in the gray robes nodded, though his expression remained grave as he gazed at the 20-meter tentacle lizard ahead. I had been standing nearby, intending to step forward, but I halted in my tracks. This was the first time I had witnessed a human of such immense power. The jump he had just made must have been over 10 meters high, yet Master Gu landed with effortless grace. I was deeply curious as to what cultivation realm this Master Gu had actually attained. Just then, the leading 20-meter giant lizard also turned its gaze toward Master Gu. Then, its massive frame lunged toward Master Gu at a bizarre, unnatural angle. Just as Master Gu retracted the golden circular disc into his hand, it instantly transformed into a golden afterimage, slashing directly toward the giant lizard. The golden disc tore through the air with blistering speed. Yet, the giant lizard managed to evade the strike by contorting its body at an impossible angle. Its massive form charged straight toward him. Master Gu leaped back more than 10 meters on the spot, intending to dodge the assault. But he had clearly underestimated the combat prowess of this colossal beast. The giant lizard's tail transformed into a blurred afterimage, whipping fiercely toward him. Master Gun's body was sent flying dozens of meters away, crashing heavily into the ground. Liu Dai and a few soldiers rushed forward in a desperate attempt to rescue Master Gu. At this moment, the base's defensive line had completely collapsed. Tragic expressions of despair were etched upon the faces of every soldier. They gripped the final grenades in their hands, determined to deliver one last strike against the lizard horde. Just at this moment of extreme peril, the sea beside the base suddenly began to surge violently. All the lizards looked toward the water with visible unease. Even the 20-meter-long lizard leading the charge slowly began to retreat. They could sense a profound, encroaching fear. The soldiers, having been rescued, were left bewildered, watching these tentacled lizards, They could not conceive of anything that would cause these monsters to withdraw in such unison. At this moment, Liu Dama, the base commander, and Master Ji Yu beside him had regained consciousness. He muttered something under his breath, his words trailing off as the seawater continued to boil. If there was a monster beneath the depths, its strength had undoubtedly reached a terrifying level. A massive, golden silhouette erupted from beneath the surface. The very moment I appeared, the surrounding air temperature soared uncontrollably. My imposing stature made the 20-meter-long giant lizard appear somewhat insignificant before me. The tentacled lizards, which had been so arrogant and aggressive moments ago, were now recoiling, as a flicker of killing intent ignited in my eyes. Under the stunned gazes of all the soldiers, I transformed into a golden afterimage, charging like a juggernaut toward the largest tentacled lizard. Following a heaven-shaking explosion, the colossal tentacled lizard crumbled under the force of my impact. Its head was shattered open, leaving a gaping wound. It staggered for a few steps before collapsing heavily to the ground. The remaining lizards, paralyzed by fear, scattered in a frantic attempt to escape. But how could I possibly allow them to flee so easily? My figure blurred once more, transforming into a streak of golden afterimages. Before the dozen remaining lizards could retreat any distance, I had already struck them all down. With a mere flick of my crimson fangs, the head of one lizard was severed instantly. In that moment, the ground was littered with the carcasses of fallen lizards. The soldiers within the base watched with extreme caution, not daring to act rashly. A mere dozen tentacled lizards had nearly decimated their entire stronghold. Yet the gargantuan beast before them possessed power that eclipsed those creatures by an immeasurable margin. If it were to lose its temper, they would not even have the capacity to mount a defense. Not far away, Liu Dao watched the spectacle and realized that I was the very same Wild Boar king from the forest. Previously, my entire body had been encased in layers of black, armored scales. Now, following the opening of heaven and earth, my transformation could truly be described as a complete rebirth. Liu Das approached with measured steps, speaking tentatively. Lord Boar King, thank you for saving this base. I remained indifferent to Liu Da's display of goodwill. I simply lifted my right hoof, gesturing toward the lizard carcasses scattered upon the ground, then pointed toward the distant forest. Observing this, a glimmer of excitement ignited in Liu Da's eyes. He hurriedly replied, "Understood. I will immediately arrange for men to deliver them to your cave dwelling." With that, I dove straight into the sea, vanishing from their sight. Liu Da, still unable to contain his exhilaration, muttered to himself, "A true spirit beast. The heavens are blessing Huaxia." Upon returning to my cavern, I drifted into a deep, restful slumber. When I awakened, I discovered that Liu Da had already sent men to deliver over a dozen of them. The giant tentacled lizard carcasses had arrived. The massive lizard bodies were piled high, resembling a small mountain. By consuming all of these, I felt I could significantly increase my strength and physical form. Liu Da, unconcerned with whether or not I could comprehend his actions, had left behind several documents containing intelligence on savage beasts, compiled by the military base. This discovery secretly pleased me. Although information on this subject was not scarce online, the most critical core data remained held by the government. I gazed at the images and text within the file, instinctively murmuring, "The beast ranks are divided into Beast Soldier, and finally, the legendary King Tier." Beasts of the same rank are generally stronger than humans. Beast Soldiers correspond to the lower three realms of humanity. Lord Tier Beasts correspond to the upper three realms of humanity. Regarding the legendary King Tier Beasts, there are currently no records. Reading this, I finally understood that beasts are also categorized into various types. The types currently spreading across the nations. The giant tentacle monitor lizard is merely one of them. The giant python I encountered in the Southern Territory forest and the giant bear are also types of beasts. Among this information, the most captivating to me remains the data on Lord Tier beasts. The text states that since the dawn of heaven and earth, a total of 5 Lord Tier beasts have been discovered. Among them, the Monitor Lizard King possesses the most massive size. At nearly 60 meters, it has reached the peak of the Lord Tier. The remaining 4 reside deep within the Kunlun Mountains. Specific information is unknown. Beasts that reach the Lord Tier no longer rely solely on physical strength. The Monitor Lizard King can utilize the Azure Flame Breath, which possesses immense destructive power. According to the speculations of the Huaxia government, the number of Lord Tier beasts at sea is incredibly high. But currently, the only one revealed to human eyes is the Monitor Lizard King. After reading through all the remaining information in one breath, I could not help but summon my 2 subordinates. "The 2 of you, come here. You are currently only equivalent to high-level beast soldiers, do you understand? I am the Wild Boar King, Tang Tang. At the very least, I must command 2 beast generals. Quickly, go and eat more." As Da Huyi and Hu Er grew larger in size, their cognitive abilities also strengthened. The 2 brothers bowed their heads, let out a submissive roar, and proceeded to consume the 9-meter giant lizard. And I, without ceremony, began to devour these tentacle giant lizards myself. They truly deserve to be called Beast General Tier beasts. They granted me a direct increase of 200 points in strength. System. Display my attributes. Species. Golden Armored Boar. Weight, 30,000 caddies. Strength, 3,000 points. Physique, 2,900 points. Skills. Devour. Golden Armor. Glazed Earth-type fire. I discovered that after my body length reached 15 meters, it seemed to stop increasing. But my current appearance is truly imposing. Unlike those unsightly lizards, one can tell at a glance that my strength is far from ordinary, and therefore, regarding my massive stature, I have no particular requirements. 15 meters in length and 6 meters in height is perfectly sufficient. System. How much more do I need before I can undergo another evolution? You must reach a gravitational crystal weight of 100,000 caddies, and both strength and physique must reach 10,000 points to evolve. At this point, only by hunting Lord-level beasts can I accelerate my evolution. I could not help but think to myself, but where would one even find a Lord-level beast? Subconsciously, I turned on my phone. Currently, all platforms across Huaxia are in an uproar. Countless videos of beasts hunting humans have surfaced, and the warnings issued by the government 2 days ago have now become a grim reality. Everyone is sheltering indoors, afraid to step outside, yet many beasts have already broken through doors and walls to rampage within. Among the reports, one particular piece of news caught my attention. We are reporting that a lion measuring 7 meters in length has appeared. Based on the strength assessments provided by the Huaxia government, this beast has reached the early stage beast general rank. Residents in the market district must heighten their defenses. The military is already mobilizing toward the market area. It seems to be not very far from here. Since the heaven and earth have undergone this transformation, the city has been reclaimed by the wilderness. Beasts of such formidable strength have begun to traverse the human cities at will. It appears I must venture into the city and test my resolve. I immediately summoned Hu Yi and Hu Er, and we followed the forest path outward. Having not left the southern territory for some time, I noticed that the wild beasts outside have grown significantly in size. Many rare beast generals that were once seldom seen outside the forest are now commonplace within its depths. Perhaps it is because I have already purged so many of the powerful predators. Therefore, since the resurgence of spiritual energy, no lord-level beasts have emerged within the great forest. Or perhaps it is simply that I have yet to cross paths with one. After all, the great forest is truly vast. Throughout this journey I have already slain countless beasts, including a 5-meter-long blue wolf and a giant 7-meter-long bear. However, the energy I gain from soldier-level beasts is becoming increasingly scarce. I have lost track of how many days have passed. As soon as I emerged from the forest, I heard the thunderous roar of artillery fire erupting from within the city. Gazing into the distance, I saw a 7-meter-long lion leaping through the formation of tanks. Each time it leaped and landed, another tank was left smoldering in flames. Its claws shimmered with a chilling, lethal light. The power it wielded was immense. More importantly, this giant lion possessed agility so profound that the tanks stood no chance of resistance. With a single, casual swipe, another tank was reduced to a smoldering wreck by the beast. At this critical moment, where the situation hung by a single hair, 3 shadowy figures wielding cold weapons lunged from the rear. The aura radiating from them was by no means ordinary. Despite facing this beast general level lion, they displayed not a trace of fear. These 3 were martial artists, dispatched by the Huaxia Martial Arts Association. Among them, 2 had attained the 6th grade communion realm, while the young woman had reached the 7th grade steel bone realm. The young woman, possessing delicate features, spoke up. "Senior brother, the intelligence of this lion beast appears to be quite high. It will not be easily handled." The martial artist wielding a long staff replied, "This is a lion king that escaped from the night's zoo. Logically speaking, there should have been several beast soldier level subordinates by its side. When we strike, you 2 must exercise extreme caution." Hearing this, the other 2 nodded with grim expressions. Being in the 6th grade communion realm means one has forged a profound connection with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Utilizing cold weapons allows them to unleash their combat prowess to its absolute limit. Yet, when confronting a beast general level monster, they dared not show the slightest negligence. Unlike humans, a beast general level monster has been tempered by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Its defensive power and strength are truly terrifying. With no time to waste, the martial artist wielding the long saber, a 6th grade communion realm expert, struck first. He leapt over 10 meters into the air, his long saber transforming into a streak of silver light, slashing directly toward the massive lion. However, the lion proved to be even more agile. It leapt upward, swinging its right claw, meeting the incoming saber strike without a hint of hesitation. A crisp, resonant clang echoed through the air. The saber felt as though it had struck solid metal. The 6th grade communion realm martial artist was sent flying backward by an immense force. Seeing this, the remaining 2 martial artists, launched their own attacks in succession. The long staff and long sabers in their hands were swung with all their might toward the lion. Yet, the lion not only evaded the strikes with ease, but also swiped its claws, sending both of them reeling. The delicate young woman of the 7th grade Steelbone realm began to bleed from the corner of her mouth. Faced with a beast general level monster, had it not been for their combined efforts, she would not have survived even a single strike. Meanwhile, in a location hidden from their sight, I had already brought the 2 tiger cubs into the city. The 2 tigers were engaged in a fierce battle against more than 10 lions, each measuring 4 to 5 meters in length. Although the number of lions was significant, the 2 brothers, Hu Yi and Hu Er, held a firm upper hand. Before long, more than half of the lions had been felled by Hu Yi and Hu Er. Once the pride realized the dire turn of events, yet with me standing guard here, how could I possibly allow them to escape? Before long, the road was littered with the carcasses of more than 10 lions. Hu Yi and Hu Er, the 2 brothers, also began a brutal slaughter. I, too, reluctantly accepted the few lions that my 2 young subordinates offered up. I could not help but lament that training troops for 1,000 days is truly for the sake of a single moment of use. At this moment on the street, under the watchful eyes of all present, Hu Yi and Hu Er were locked in a frenzied close-quarters battle against the beast general rank Lion King. Observing the situation, I realized that the 2 brothers and the Lion King would not be able to determine a victor anytime soon. The 2 of you, fall back. Allow me to intervene and show you how it is done. This next technique will be truly magnificent. Hearing my command, Hu Yi and Hu Er had no choice but to leap backward and retreat from the battlefield, however unwillingly. At this moment, the Lion King's expression turned tense. It could sense the overwhelming power of the creature before it, and it could not help but assume a defensive stance. Facing the Lion King's wariness, I appeared far more at ease. I walked forward slowly, then suddenly accelerated. The very air seemed to tremble as a brilliant golden radiance, like a torrential flood, surged directly toward the Lion King. The beast could not even mount a defense. Its body was launched over a dozen meters into the air before crashing heavily back to the ground. Everyone in the vicinity watched in a daze. Yet, faced with such a terrifying spectacle, the middle-aged commander inside the tank furrowed his brows slightly, as if he were deep in thought. In the next moment, he opened the tank hatch. A soldier beside him could not help but caution him, "It is too dangerous." The middle-aged commander stepped out with unwavering resolve. On the other side, after defeating this Lion King, I did not rush to devour it. I now possess the strength to hunt down beast general rank spirit beasts, but what truly aids me are lord rank spirit beasts. And for that, I must cooperate with the Huaxia government. At that instant, my fangs gleamed with a silver light, and the massive lion head tumbled to the ground. It landed at the feet of Qi Guobao, the man who had just stepped out of the tank. In Qi Guobao's eyes, there flickered a trace of fear, yet also a glimmer of astonishment and joy. I trust that he understands my intentions. A single lion head may not significantly bolster my strength, but it can serve as a bargaining chip for transactions with Huaxia. Shortly after, one soldier after another emerged from the tanks. Looking at the lion head at their commander's feet, they were filled with disbelief. In the following moment, Commander Qi Guobao stood at attention and offered me a formal salute. Immediately thereafter, every soldier standing behind him turned toward me and offered a solemn salute. By striking down the Beast King, I had, in effect, saved the lives of millions. Their salute was offered with genuine sincerity. Facing these men, I gave a slow, measured nod. This simple gesture ignited a firestorm within the hearts of everyone present, including the 3 martial artists. They could not suppress their astonishment as they stared at me, whispering amongst themselves, "Is this truly a divine beast?" Hu Yi and Hu Er, walking by my side, swelled with a sense of pride. They could clearly perceive my intentions. Thus, they harbored no hostility toward these humans. Following this, I gestured toward the map held behind Qi Guobao. His expression grew grave, yet he ultimately handed the map over to me. The map clearly detailed the current state of Huaxia, marking the pressures faced by each region. It was, for all intents and purposes, a military secret. Naturally, these were precisely the insights I required. Finally, I dragged the carcass of the Beast King away from the scene. Every soldier and official watched as I retreated into the distance. By the time I disappeared from sight, the information I had gleaned from the map and dossiers weighed heavily upon my mind. The current threat to Huaxia is immense. Beneath the ocean's surface, hundreds of millions of monsters lie in wait, casting their predatory gaze toward the coast of Huaxia. Where once there were only creatures like the tentacled lizards, now a multitude of new species have emerged. The monsters within the sea possess vast differences in nature and strength. Many of these beasts are gargantuan in size, and are evolving at a maddening pace. As I traveled, I checked my phone. The netizens on major platforms had grown far more somber. They had finally grasped the terrifying reality of the spiritual energy resurgence. Many netizens were organizing themselves to trade essential supplies. Among these posts One message stood out. To all survivors, the Lancheng stronghold has been established. Before the military arrives, everyone is encouraged to seek refuge at the stronghold. Currently, Lancheng has detected 300 beast soldier level monsters and 50 beast general level monsters, which the military no longer has the firepower to suppress. Seeing this message, I could not help but tremble. For a single city to harbor over 5,000 beast soldiers, it is truly horrifying. After all, the vast majority of ordinary citizens possess no means of defense, and a horde of such magnitude would surely leave them defenseless. More terrifying still was the constant emergence of beast generals, and even more fearsome beast lords, pouring forth from the depths of the mountains and wilderness. While lost in thought, I passed through the market district. Along the way, I took the liberty of dispatching a few beast soldiers that crossed my path. I had formulated a plan of my own. My destination was the southern coast, where I intended to undergo my next evolution. I turned to the two tigers following behind me and commanded, "On our journey, if you encounter beasts harming humans, slaughter them all." Leaving the market behind, we traveled over 100 miles until we reached the next city. This city was known as Qingping City. It was somewhat smaller than the market, and had once been a place of great prosperity, yet its streets were now deserted, devoid of any human presence. From time to time, the chilling roars of beasts echoed from somewhere deep within the city. I had seen reports online that the situation in many cities was dire, but I found the state of Qingping City to be even more desolate. The entire electrical grid had collapsed, leaving the city essentially isolated from the outside world. The number of beasts within the city was undoubtedly vast, and it was highly probable that a powerful beast general was presiding over the territory. This explained the severity of the situation. Even the military had been unable to intervene in Qingping City. With that, I led my two subordinates through the streets. Before long, we encountered several beast soldiers, most of which were dealt with by Hu Yi and Hu Er. They were currently high-level beast soldiers, standing on the threshold of a breakthrough to the beast general rank. Suddenly, I halted. My enhanced sense of smell had detected a formidable aura. Was it a beast general? It was directly ahead, near what appeared to be Qingping University, and within a school building less than a kilometer away. A crowd was huddled together inside a dilapidated gymnasium. They were trembling in terror, facing a beast of immense size. It was leading dozens of other beasts. The frantic creature smashed through the gymnasium gates, and many students could not help but scream in horror. The reason Qingping University had become a forbidden zone teeming with monsters was that the campus had once been home to many stray cats and dogs. Most of them had been fed by the students. And after the heavens and earth underwent their transformation, the number of beasts here far exceeded other locations. Thus, when the beast general appeared, the lesser beasts seemed to have found their master. As they surged madly toward the gymnasium gates, someone cried out, "Run!" The students scattered in every direction, completely devoid of any courage. The martial artists at the 8th stage of the Iron Skin realm fled with even greater haste, the swiftest among them being Yang Quan, who also stood at the 8th stage of the Iron Skin realm. When the iron gates were shattered by the rampaging feral hound, he leaped through a window to make his escape. Yet, as Yang Quan dashed outside the gymnasium, he was met with a sight that filled him with absolute terror. A gold-armored red-haired boar, its body stretching 15 meters in length, was leisurely pacing through the grounds, flanked by two Siberian tigers measuring 5 meters each. The campus of Qingping University felt far more perilous now, for these beasts were clearly far more formidable than the creatures lurking within the gymnasium. What astonished Yang Quan most was that these clearly extraordinary beasts, at the mere sight of him, did not rush forward to tear him apart, but instead merely cast a cold, indifferent glance in his direction. I walked toward the gymnasium, accompanied on my path by Hu Yi and Hu Er. Having already slain over 10 beast soldiers, I knew these were not my true objectives. As I reached the entrance to the gymnasium, a colossal beast turned to face me, its entire body covered in razor-sharp quills. Each of these quills spanned 3 to 5 meters in length. This was a porcupine that had been tempered and refined by spiritual energy. Hu Yi and Hu Er stared at the gargantuan creature before them, releasing threatening growls, yet they dared not launch an attack recklessly. Beast general-level creatures are often unique, and even this beast general-level porcupine hesitated to strike at me. It bristled every quill on its body, and even I found myself struggling to determine where to land an opening strike. While I remained confident that these quills could not pierce my golden armor, I had no desire to test them unnecessarily, though this was the perfect opportunity to experiment with earth-attributed glazed fire. Ever since I had mastered this technique, I had yet to put it to the test. Now, I had a free target dummy conveniently placed before me. Inside the gymnasium, many students had already perished at the claws of the beast soldiers, leaving only a handful of teachers and pupils huddled in the cramped confines of the offices, clinging to their fragile lives. As for the few students who had reached the entry realm, Those who could manage it had already fled through the windows. I signaled to Hu Yi and Hu Er. The two brothers advanced into the gymnasium to purge the feral cats and stray dogs within. As high-level beast soldier-grade tigers, dealing with the beasts evolved from mere alley cats and stray dogs was a trivial task for them. The remaining beasts and the few students left in the gymnasium dared not stir, watching in sheer terror as Hu Yi and Hu Er laid waste to everything in their path. Outside the gymnasium, only the beast general-level porcupine and I remained. I parted my lips slightly, and currents of energy began to manifest across the Qingping University campus. These currents were formed from the convergence of spiritual energy, and they began to stream ceaselessly into my mouth. Moments later, a sphere of crimson fire ignited, radiating a menacing, fiery light that instantly vaporized the surrounding air. The moisture from the countless trees surrounding the porcupine beast general began to evaporate, and for the first time, it revealed an expression of genuine dread. Beast generals are stronger than humans, primarily due to their sheer physical stature, their immense size, and their evolved physiology, yet they rarely possess the ability to manipulate spiritual energy. My glazed fire, however, has long transcended such limitations. Reaching an entirely different realm, and faced with the rapidly intensifying heat, the hedgehog beast general no longer concerned itself with anything else. It turned to flee, but the crimson flames instantly transformed into a streak of light, surging forth with lethal precision. In a heartbeat, the skull of the 10-meter-tall hedgehog beast general was pierced through, and its heavy carcasses collapsed, kicking up a massive cloud of dust into the surrounding air. I stepped toward the carcass of the beast inside the arena as the remaining students and teachers watched the scene before them in sheer terror. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed as two helicopters circled the skies above Qingping University. Gazing at the aircraft above, a flicker of coldness appeared in my eyes. However, they merely circled the arena once, before banking sharply and heading in another direction. Inside the arena, the remaining students and teachers could not help but cry out, "What is wrong with those helicopters? Why don't they eliminate this monster? Indeed, with such a massive creature, are they truly blind to it?" Profound confusion clouded the minds of these people. At that very moment, several military jeeps entered the grounds of Qingping University. The occupants sat with long swords or spears in hand, their auras surging. One could tell at a glance they were ranked martial artists. The appearance of these vehicles once again ignited the fervor of those remaining in the arena. Several teachers pressed their faces against the windows, whispering amongst themselves, faced with such a gigantic monster, surely these are experts stepping in to intervene. I shared this thought. The long swords and spears in their hands were clearly forged from extraordinary materials, specialized for dealing with beasts. Amidst the clamor of the crowd's discussions, several young men and women clad in black stepped down from the vehicles, positioning themselves not far from me, their blades glinting with a frigid